Guys, Doug from TMW Off-Road here. Today I want to show you our spare tire rack for the Pro R, Turbo R, and Pro XP. This rack fits all three of the vehicles. The install is a little bit different on the Pro XP and the Turbo R than the Pro R. And so we wanted to show you how to do that today and the things that you'll need to install this and get it working properly. Okay, remove the 4 bolts to secure the bed inside of the bed tray. We use a T40 on a Milwaukee is the quickest way to do it, I think. Bed tray should just come out. Remove the exhaust cover. These 2 bolts use a T50. And that guy just pulls out a couple clips and a little rubber insert at the bottom. Exhaust cover's off. Up here behind the tail light, you can see taking out these 2 T30s. All right, we're back to our T40 bit. We're going to remove the rest of this rear exhaust or rear bed. We just call it like a rear fascia or whatever that holds the lights. Once that comes loose, make sure you pop your wires for the lights real quick. And you have a rear view camera wire as well. And make sure you release that. It's a little easier if you don't have huge fingers like me. Might need a little pick. Okay guys, I got a little ahead of myself. Rear view camera. These 3 holes right here with the 3 pieces of tape on the harness. When you pull this apart, there's actually a little push clip with a zip tie holding those 3 in. I removed those without getting it on video, sorry about that. We'll typically use like a little fork. You can use a screwdriver, whatever you have, but we'll use like these little Matco forks to get behind them, pop those 3 out, and then we cut them off. All right, so now that you're here, take this bracket, take your 1/4-20 stainless button head bolts that come in the kit. You have 2 that go in straight in like this. There is 1 more in the middle here. We're going to put in reverse one. It's going to put in this one. Rear plastic back on. Remember, plug your lights in and your camera back in before you get too far. Take it back off later. Install the exhaust cover back on. Bring that rubber out. Get your clips. Get the clips pushed in. You have your 2 bolts that have the big plastic washer. Remember the size torque you need is a T50 for these. Make sure you get them started before you start torquing them. So your threads stay good. All right, you can see right here we've unbolted the factory seat belt harnesses. This car already had Simpson harnesses in it, so it was a little different. But every car's got some kind of a seat belt attached right there for the upper. And so what we do, instead of having the harness on top of the tab, we bolt it on the bottom of the tab. And so you need to take your spare tire bracket like this, and you need to drop it through. You can see I set the nut and washer in there inside that tube. Drop it through like that. And then line that guy up. A little awkward, for sure. Getting that thing started. But once you get it started, no big deal. So make sure this is pretty flat with this edge right here, and you can go ahead and tighten it up. Use a 19mm wrench on the bottom, 18mm socket on the top. Make sure those guys are tight. That's your harness. Make sure it's good to go. The snap-on tool cart's holding up the spare tire rack here while we get it ready for install. So the rack comes fully welded like this. The heims are installed in the rack, but they're installed all the way in so they fit in the box better. So when you get them, the best thing to do is to turn this either 14 half turns or 7 full turns, and that actually gets you pretty close. You might have to adjust it a little bit once you do that, but if you do that, so that's 1 half turn, and then that's a full turn, right? So you do that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 half turns right there, or 7 full turns, sorry, or 14 half turns. And so that gets you really close to where you need to be. Each vehicle, with the differences in the frames, you might need to move this out another half turn or in another half turn if it really has a hard time lining up with the latches, but should be pretty close right there. So then go ahead and take your 15/16 wrench and tighten this guy up. Now you can pull the ball apart from the shock. All right, now we'll take that little ball that we took off the shock, install it into the side of the spare tire rack. Okay, we've already assembled our latch bracket. When you guys assemble this, there's two outside pieces, a center piece, the 2 places where the latches grab on, little stainless steel, look like little barbells. So if you look at this real quick, you can see the thicker part of the barbell goes to the outside, the thinner part goes to the inside. We've got our bolt running straight through here with our washer on each side, the nylock. Simple to bolt together. These just line up with each other, these edges. Bed bolts. I'm gonna drop our spare tire piece just right there. And you can see, if you look closely, the holes are just lined up at the very top of that slot right there. You can put these in if you want and run, to hold it in place. But then we're gonna take a 1/4 inch drill bit and just drill a little hole right there. Just enough to, want to barely push in. We don't want to hit that bracket behind it, but we want to just barely get through the plastic. And that'll give us our hole for our bolt to tie this outer bracket to the inner support that we just installed inside on the frame. It is easier to install those bolts without these Torques in place. So we're taking them back out. And I had to take a 532 Allen. Try to get it started by hand for sure first, if possible. Right, now the inner frame and the outer frame are connected. We're going to replace our Torques with our T40 for the last time on these ones. In. Alright, now our bracket's in place. Our upper hinges are in place. Now we can go ahead and set the spare tire rack on here. Just install these little rubber bushings that we provide. They fit lock and ride holes. They do fit pretty snug, so sometimes you have to wiggle them in there. It's easier to remove this little metal piece and just push the bushing in by itself, and then stick the metal piece up from the bottom when you're done. But you need this little screwdriver. There's going to use a little screwdriver on the top there. See, it's still a little slow, but take the screwdriver, push on a little bit, get it down there where it's supposed to go. And once we flush across the top there. Okay, take your, this is your shock bracket. You're going to set it in those little rubber inserts we just installed. Be careful not to knock those little metal pieces off the bottom. You can stick your hand on the bottom side and then get the thread to get started. This is a 3/16 Allen. So if you have a normal Allen wrench, or we like using these little bits that go in the impact drivers, Milwaukee impact drivers. This saves a little bit of time. Gotta tighten that down, and that makes the rubber get fat on the bottom, expands, and tightens up in that hole so it won't move. The latch bracket's in place. I'm gonna take your other little ball that came off that gas strut. You want to point it inward like this, and put the nut and washer on the back side. Now take your spare tire rack and carefully set it up on top of those tabs up there. And you go ahead and open these rear latches and get it latched in place. we go. Okay, so now I've got the rear latches in place, and the hinds are just sitting up on top of those bolts up in the front. But I'm doing this by myself, so it makes it nice because now I can just go up there, the latch will stay in place, and I can lift those hinds up and check if they're in alignment, if they need to be longer or shorter, and then I just put the bolts in. Pretty simple. I can see that the hind's perfect with the hole alignment here. If it wasn't, I could run this out, like if I needed to make it a little bit longer or shorter, but you know, it's sitting on the latches in the back, and we want to make sure that this hole lines up. Now we're going to take these bolts and we're going to stick them in with one washer, and we're going to push them in toward the speaker, right? They won't fit the other way, they won't come the other way because the speaker's in the way, but that lets us install the hind just like that. Nylock on the back side of it. Okay, then that's your rack. Now your rack should, now that you've got the bolts in the front, should open and close and latch, right? So the latches should snap on. So you get to that point, take your shock, put the body of the shock on the actual spare tire rack, then bring it down, grab your lower mount there, get your other side on there also. Now it should be a little bit stiff to push down. There's no tire on there. Take a second and put those 4-wire clips back in. Gas struts to pop off the mounts here. Before you throw the tire on, now's a good time to decide what you're going to do with your MOLLE panel. If you're going to put a jack on the bottom of it, or impact tools, or different things. On this one, you can see we just put a little emergency first aid kit. So it allows us to have some of the life-saving stuff out there on the trail with us. But it's also out of the way, so we can still have our cooler and tools and the things we need down here. And all that stuff can be up out of the way. These long skinny slots are meant for carriage bolts, so you can put carriage bolts down from the top and bolt on jacks or different things, and then it's still kind of smooth on the top. Or you can use, you know, the squares for any of the MOLLE panel type stuff. Probably the hardest part of putting this spare tire on is lifting the tire into place. Oh, it's the worst part. Oh. There she is. So the speed strap Y strap comes with every one of our spare tire racks. Go ahead and drop that over the top. So it's meant to hook one hook in this back one, and then the 2 hooks up front. You will need to spend some time and adjust the length depending on the different tire you have. Some guys will, after they get their tire adjusted, they're never going to change tire size. They'll cut the strap and burn the end of it. Here we just rolled it up and zip tied it. So if you change later on to like a 37-inch tire, which this spare tire rack will hold the 37. Okay, we finished the install on this Pro R, on this spare tire rack. Everything is working properly, functions properly, is adjusted far enough back that it latches exactly like it's supposed to. If you're having trouble with your installation and this video doesn't help you, or you need more help, reach out to us, sales@tmwoffroad.com, or if you'd like to buy one of these spare tire racks, they're on our website, tmwoffroad.com, or one of our many dealers. Anyways, thanks for watching, and always remember, take time to play.